Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope you're well. You'll have probably noticed that the show had a little break of late as I spent a little bit of time away. I'm glad to be back, although my timing wasn't the best. As you'll probably notice, a couple of episodes are dropping within a couple of days of each other, which is not something I'd normally do, but it's just how it's fallen. This episode, I am going to be looking at all the England players who have made a move during the summer transfer window. Something I've covered in the last couple of years. I'll also be paying tribute to Sven-Goran Eriksson, who passed recently. And then with the Nations League matches approaching, Ireland away and Finland at home, I'll have the preview episode for that in a couple of days' time. Make sure you stay subscribed and you won't miss it. Back to this episode, and I'm pleased to say I've been joined once again by Gary Lambert from Channel England Football over on YouTube. Gary, hello.
Hiya, mate. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. It wasn't a bad summer, was it? Really?
But it had its highs and lows, didn't it?
Definitely. I mean, they either were highs or extreme lows, weren't they? Yeah,
they were. But yeah, well, it seems ages ago, but it was only 2 months, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, not long ago at all. But you're right, it does seem a hell of a long time ago. I think it's because every game felt like 10 years, didn't it? It was one of those. It was just one of those tournaments. Like every game just felt like it went on forever.
Oh, I don't know. The amount I went backwards and forwards, I met myself coming back basically. And we're back on the road again very soon for the Nations League. Excited for that?
Yeah, it'll be good, man. I mean, I'm disappointed we're not in League A, but nice to play some different teams in it, and a cracking opening match, obviously against some bitter rivals. 17 times doing my video last night. I only played the Irish 17 times, which really surprised me.
Yeah, so, considering how close they are.
Yeah.
Well, we're back together again. We're doing this episode 12 months on, looking at all of those sort of England players who moved. Back 12 months ago, there were a few big ones back then. Jude Bellingham went from Dortmund to Madrid, James Maddison from Leicester to Tottenham, Mason Mount, I guess you could count as well, Chelsea to Manchester United, how that one fell apart. Declan Rice, West Ham to Arsenal, Jordan Henderson as well, 12 months ago, went to Saudi, that kind of went belly up. Harry Kane eventually moved to Bayern, left Tottenham. The majority of them worked out well for them and for England. And I think last year there were about 30 plus England players who made a move for it was roughly 650 million, but this time it appears to be more 350 million. So we're going to sort of chronologically go through them, have a chat about some of the players, thoughts on them, whether they're going to progress through, maybe just sort of reminisce, really. But this year the window opened on the 14th of June, closed on the 30th of August. Many of these names you'll recognise, some you may have forgotten about, but they're all England related and have won a cap, senior or under 21 at some point. And I guarantee some of them you will think, wow, is he still playing? I can't believe it. And I think basically we'll sort of start with almost one of those. Adam Lallana, as he just seems to move every year. Brighton to Southampton this time for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be getting in an England squad anytime soon, is he? But I just think Adam Lallana is one of those players who's sort of he's one of those that got away, isn't he? He's like one of those girls that got away because you just feel like at a time he looked good, he looked solid, but I think injuries at the wrong time in his career played a big role, didn't it? Particularly when he was at Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, it's a move for him, isn't it?
He's had a good innings. He's had a good innings. Like 34 caps for him. And here's one that just never really took off. Ben Godfrey for those of you that maybe can't remember, he had 2 caps. He won 2 caps before Euro 2020. There was the 2 games up in Middlesbrough, those 2 warm-up games against Austria and Romania, I think they were. He was obviously doing well at the time because he was selected, but he didn't make the final squad. But he was playing with Everton, and he's found himself a move to Italy, to Atalanta, for 11 million.
I mean, we're thinking that's a big price, but is that a big price in today's market? It probably isn't, is it? Really?
No.
But it is. It still does seem like a surprising figure. I'm just having a quick look. He's only 26 years old, so he's still got plenty of years ahead of him, and it might be a good move for him. We might see him again in a few years' time.
Yeah, it's always good I always like it when an England player goes abroad, just to, I don't know, just from my own sort of thoughts. I'd love to go abroad and apply my trade somehow.
We've always said, haven't we? A lot of people, why don't more England players go abroad? And I think it is starting to change now, the trend. But yeah, good on him. I hope he does well.
Yeah. There's going to be a few goalkeepers we're going to talk about as we go along, but I'll mention one who, again, you'll think, blimey, he's still knocking around. John Ruddy. The saying goes, he's had more clubs than Tiger Woods. He had 1 cap against Italy back in 2012. Well, he's moved from Birmingham to Newcastle, so I imagine just to sit on the bench. But another player who's probably maybe of a similar age, Ross Barkley. He made his England debut against Moldova in 2013. He went on to win 33 caps. He has moved from Luton to Aston Villa. Now, last season, whilst Luton were in the Premier League, people were talking, do you know what? Ross Barkley was pulling the strings for them and talking he could get back in the England team.
Yeah, there's a crowd, I think, of fans that are always loyal to Ross Barkley because they saw what he was like. He's another, I mean, not quite as bad as Dele Alli, but he's one of those where you just thought 5, 6, 7 years ago, you'd have thought he'd have been our future, and it hasn't really happened. But he did have a good season at Luton, and I think going to Villa, we've got to remember Villa are a bloody good team at the minute. Playing really well. They had a good season last year under a good manager. Is he 30 now? Yeah, I think he's 30 years old now, so it's probably maybe a little bit late to him because obviously he's playing in an area of the pitch as well where we've just got an abundance of talent. But yeah, if he has another good season, why not? But I don't know. I think it might be a bit of a push. I don't think he's going to be going to Villa and starting many games, but I could be wrong.
No, I think Villa have probably drafted him in because they've got Champions League football this year and need to just sort of stretch their squad as it were. But as I say, you never know. But he's one of those players that's sort of looked after himself, I think, is the way it can be looked at. 14th of July, Callum Chambers, he won 3 caps. He left Aston Villa and he's moved to Cardiff. Let's say he won 3 caps. Now, one player who there's a lot of conversation about, and we will come back to him for other reasons. Mason Greenwood, he won 1 cap. Now he was at Manchester United and he's moved to Marseille for 26.5 million, but he was on loan at Getafe last year. But now he's gone to the French league. And before we sort of comment on him, I think we'll come back to him because there's some more sort of news about him. But yeah, I think it was Iceland. It was Iceland that he won his 1 cap.
It was because it was him and Foden got in a load of bother, didn't they? Taking a load of women back to the hotel room or something.
Foden, that was it. Yeah, sort of how one went one way and the other has gone another. We'll come back to him. Carrying on the list, we're doing them sort of chronologically. Ryan Sessegnon. Now, he 20 under 21 caps. He hasn't made it to the senior team yet. He joined Tottenham from Fulham in 2019. 26 million he made a move for there. This year, he's gone back to Fulham for nothing. How does that work?
It's just a good bit of business in here from Fulham. I mean, I will say this. I thought at the time when they signed him for 26 minutes, I thought that's a good buy. He looked good for long periods. I saw a bit of him at under 21 level. He looked an exciting player, but he's just been nowhere to be seen, has he, since that move? And I think it might be, let's hope this is another positive move. He's still a young lad. I think he's still under 25. And maybe he can find some of that form back. I mean, we've seen it, and maybe with another player we're going to come on to a little bit later, but some players just suit certain clubs, don't they? They just suit certain clubs and play better football for them. And yeah, let's hope he can find some of that form that got him that attention from Tottenham, because I thought he was a very good young prospect at one point.
Yeah, there's still time on his side. So he's gone back to Fulham. And Fulham, they're one of those teams that kind of, they seem to grab hold of some players that have got some potential, but as a team, they just can't sort of string it together. They're still hanging around the Premier League, and I'm sure probably a League Cup is probably their aim. But they've picked up on a couple of players this transfer window, and one of those is Emil Smith-Rowe, 27 million, which apparently could rise to 34. He's gone from Arsenal to Fulham. He grew up at Arsenal, and in his time there, he won 3 caps. And it's not just at the senior team. He worked his way through the England age groups, from the under-16s to the seniors. When he made his debut in 21 in a home game to Albania, then he scored in his following game in the 10-0 away win over San Marino, which I think basically anyone who had a shot on goal scored on. There, but I don't know. Can we see Emil Smith-Rowe still?
It's hard to say. It feels like such a long time ago since we've really seen him have a run of games. I'm glad he's moved now. I just think he should have done it last season. A lot of talk with last summer was, should he move, because he was looking like he wasn't going to get many games at Arsenal. I mean, fair play to him. He's done it now. I mean, when you're looking at players like Marcus Rashford, I know he's getting games, but clearly I think needs a move. But Emil Smith-Rowe, I think, now end of the day, he's got to do it now, hasn't he? He's got to do it. He's going to play much more games you'd expect. Gone for relatively big money. It's now or never for him, really. Yeah,
and I guess from his own perspective, he's staying in London, so he doesn't have to uproot everything. And I wonder if that's when you're moving clubs, a thing that you kind of look at. It's like, well, I don't want to move house. I want to be just comfortable.
I always do think that. I always do, but then I remember how much money they're earning, and I just think, you know what, I'd make do moving City. I'm sure I can find something pretty nice whichever club I'm at.
Yeah. Well, looking at it from this way, the next big move was someone who's moved from Bournemouth to North London, which is, I think I'd rather go the other way, to be honest. If I had a nice pad down in Bournemouth overlooking the sea, would be nice.
Yeah.
But we're talking Dominic Solanke. 1 cap. That's all he's earned in the time that he's been playing. And that was back in 2017. It was, I mean, as caps go, if you're going to get one, play it against Brazil. Why not? But yeah, 55 million, Bournemouth sold Dominic Solanke to Tottenham. Apparently it could rise to 65. He was the one, was it last season or season before, sort of the English top goal scorer, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think last season he was pretty much up there. He had a brilliant season last year, really, really strong season. And there's been a lot of snobbery around this, because I just think I've seen a lot of Tottenham fans absolutely going mad that they've paid this amount of money for Solanke. And I think if this was a foreign player coming from a foreign league off the back of the season they'd be speaking very differently. And I just think it's because he's been around the block a long time, and we know him, and he feels like someone who's been brought back in from the past, so he's quite unfashionable, but the form's there, and the lad's only 26. I mean, you're saying his last cap was in 2017, did you say? But he's only 26. I think this is a good signing. If he can find half the form he did for Bournemouth with the Spurs, I think he'll do well. And you could argue he's probably deserved more caps, certainly probably last season. I think there's been a couple of occasions last year where Southgate probably should have called him up to the England squad and earned him a couple more caps. But It's probably before that he seems to have not really been about, or he's not done anything major. But I just think he's still finding his form, and the best years are still ahead of him. I think this is a good signing, but he's also playing in a position where there's been Harry Kane, hasn't there, for the past how many years?
Yeah.
And Gareth Southgate, who even in friendlies wouldn't drop Harry Kane, would he really?
No.
So, I can't think of any other striker who's probably had more than 10 caps since Kane and Southgate's been around, and I might be wrong there. But it's just that probably puts it into some sort of perspective. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad signing. It is a lot of money. I just think it's the going rate now, isn't it?
I think you're right, especially when you compare it to, we say, Ben Godfrey, 11 million. And now you got 65. I mean, he obviously hasn't caught Lee Carsley's eye because he hasn't been selected for the latest squad.
Ollie Watkins has got called back in, and I think that's probably maybe a little bit of an overhang from the Euros.
Yeah.
And obviously going on from that, another player we might talk about in a second is Ivan Toney. He hasn't been called up again neither. So the thing is, though, for England, and if I was Dominic Solanke looking at it as a 26-year-old striker who's banging form in the Premier League currently and now had a big move, who knows? I'm not going to sit here and say he could not lead the line for England later on, because obviously he could if he finds that sort of form, because the striking position is going to open up. If Kane, I know people were saying he had a back injury and stuff like that in the summer, but how many people have said to me, and I agree in some aspects, it was like we were playing with 10 men, wasn't it? Yeah. Some games in those Euros. So there's certainly a call there for another striker. And I think Dominic Solanke, unlike Ollie Watkins, is bigger, much more physical. So I don't know. I just think let's give him a chance. He's earned his move because he had a fantastic season. Good luck to him.
Yeah. Well, the only way he's going to get in is by scoring goals. So yeah, it's down to him and Tottenham. Another one who's just been in the under-21s, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, right back. I can't believe he hasn't made it into the senior squad at this rate, but he moved from Manchester United to West Ham for 15 million. Calvin Phillips, back in the middle of August, he has gone on loan from Manchester City to Ipswich after a loan period at West Ham last year, which kind of went belly up as well. I'm in two minds about Calvin Phillips, because I kind of look back at his time at Leeds and think, yeah, you had a great period of time there. You earned your England call up for the sort of the Euro 2020, and he was running the midfield there. Earned the plaudits for England. Then he sort of saw the stars, saw the money, went to Manchester City. It all went wrong for him, and eventually he lost his place, deservedly so, really. And so I kind of think, well, you bought it on yourself. But now he's been given a chance to go to Ipswich. I could be honest, having been away for a couple of weeks, I haven't seen it. Has he started at Ipswich yet?
I'm not sure, I'm not actually sure. I'm just trying to have a look now to actually see if he started at the weekend. I mean, the thing is it's clear it clearly didn't work out for. He did start on Saturday against Fulham, but he wasn't really given the chance at City. I think that's something. Even though I do feel sorry for him, he never got a game, did he? Yeah. He never even got. I don't think 10 games. He probably did, but it never felt like he got more than one game in every 3 months. So I will say this to him: he hasn't dropped down because of his own performances, because it's not like he was playing at City and he was playing poorly and he was dropped. He was just never given the opportunity to perform. No. Where he let himself down was last season at West Ham, where obviously he went on loan and that was his big chance and he just had an absolute stinker. It's a good move for him. He's going to get games.
That is the thing, yeah.
It's just, I mean, Ipswich is a huge difference, isn't it, from Manchester City? And but in a way, is it more similar to a Leeds? Is it one of those, teams where you're going into games not necessarily the favourites every single week? You're not controlling the ball. He's a ball-winning midfielder, really, isn't he? He's a nuisance. So let's see what he can do. But the problem is he's not had any sort of consistency for his own sake in terms of playing regular. So he needs to just get back into his stride and just start playing regular again.
Fresh start for him. Yeah. Let's hope we know what he can do. So that's the frustrating thing. We know what he can do. Yeah. Perhaps this is the fresh start that he needs.
I mean, sorry, Russell, did Southgate, I'm sure Southgate was absolutely slated, wasn't it, for saying after the first game at the Euros that we missed Calvin Phillips?
Yeah, he did. I mean, that was one of Southgate's. I mean, it was. Southgate, I mean, yeah. But what he was thinking, I've no idea saying that.
Yeah, but I think what he's probably arguing is in the past he has been such a big player for England and he has put some big performances in.
Yeah.
And really, we still haven't resolved that central midfield problem, have we? So we need a fit and healthy Calvin Phillips. It's an area of the pitch where England aren't blessed with an abundance of talent. So again, good luck to him.
Yeah. A couple more under 21s. Cameron Archer has moved from Villa to Southampton for 15 million. Oliver Skipp, I seem to remember Tottenham fans saying quite a while ago, saying he was going to be a potential good one for the future. He earned himself 24 under 21 caps. He moved from Tottenham to Leicester for 20 million. Let's move on to this was a big one and one I really didn't see coming. Yeah. Conor Gallagher, 18 England caps. He's been at Chelsea since he was young. I think he was signed term for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years old, the way they do things now. But he's gone to La Liga, Atletico Madrid for 33 million. I mean, it's all in a deal that saw João Felix go the other way. But the same city as Jude Bellingham. It's going to be interesting to see how he prospers over there.
Oh, mate, I think I put on the group chat at the beginning. I wasn't expecting this. Like when it got announced, it literally came out of the blue, and it just shows you how quick football can change. Imagine, 3-4 years ago, someone had said you'd swap Conor Gallagher for João Felix and pay £33 million. Well, everyone would be like, "What? What on earth's going off?" But mate, what a surprise! Because it's not like he wasn't loved at Chelsea. You know, the fans seemed to like him there. Yeah. He was playing games. He was relatively on form. He was still getting the England squad. Yeah. I think fair play to him. You know, he's gone out and thought, you know what, I think I can go it alone and do a better job. And he's into a good manager. I think he'll a really good manager in Simeone. I think he'll give him that. I do think in the past, Conor Gallagher comes on the pitch and does run around like a bit of a headless chicken sometimes. And I know Southgate did like that energy from him and things like that. But I think under Simeone, he'll give him that structure and get him to become a bit more of a professional and more clever player. So I think it'll be a good move for him. But yeah, completely shocked me. But again, fair play to him. And I know he's been starting some games. So let's see what he can do.
He's going to come into the England team with a Diego Simeone bite to him. He's going to instill that Argentine sort of physicality and bite that we know that he's got on the touchlines. We mentioned goalkeeper John Ruddy. There's a couple of goalkeepers have moved. It was on deadline day, actually. Obviously, from an England perspective, Jordan Pickford is England's number one, and we've struggled with a proper backup. We've basically got Sam Johnston, Dean Henderson, Aaron Ramsdale, Nick Pope, and they're all sort of fighting it out for that second position in the hope that Pickford gets injured and they get a chance. But it was deadline day. Sam Johnston moved from Palace to Wolves as he had found himself second option behind Dean Henderson at Palace. I mean, it's not often that you kind of find two England sort of second keepers at the same team. And the same day, deadline day, Aaron Ramsdale, he made a £25 million switch from Arsenal to Southampton. So all the second sort of goalkeepers for England are all moving around at the moment.
Yeah, and it can only benefit England because what a state we were in going into the Euro. Sorry, I mean everybody had Pickford, and then everybody else had a different two goalkeepers behind him because no one could pick between them. They weren't playing games. Ramsdale had to move. It was a bit like the Smith Rowe situation where he hadn't been playing games for a season, and you think now's the time to move. Smith Rowe didn't do it last year, and I think it's good that Ramsdale's done it this first year. He needed to do it. I'll be honest with you though, Russell. After Pickford, I think there's a massive drop-off. I do think we are arguably, though, talking about possibly England's greatest ever goalkeeper. I am going to throw it out there in terms of
quite a statement.
Yeah, I think in terms of his performances and what he's done in tournaments, I mean, I go back to that Euros final. He did everything he possibly could in that penalty shootout and in the tournament to win it. And I just think he's certainly up there as one of, if not the England's greatest ever goalkeeper for me. So he's a big gloves to fill, if you like. But Ramsdale, probably the next best. He's still young, 26 for a goalkeeper. I think for me, the thing is they need to all get better with the ball at the feet.
That's the thing.
Play more games. I don't know. I think Ramsdale was unlucky in the first place to be dropped to Arsenal. I don't think he was particularly playing poorly. Yeah, but let's see what he can do. I think it's a good move, and I'm glad he's done it because he could have, again, we all know that, and some players have in the past, they just sit there and stay on the money, don't they?
Yeah. Well, my phone's just ringing. It's Peter Shilton ringing. He's just querying your cost. Oh, hang on a minute. It's another call coming in. It's family of Gordon Banks as well.
Right, I know. Honestly, genuinely, and I know that I would happily have an argument with people to put Pickford as, but he probably England's best goalkeeper. Yeah. I know he hasn't won a trophy, but I just think he's done an awful lot. He's done an awful lot, and I know I'm talking a bit of my generation, if you like, but look, he's miles ahead of everybody else currently. Anyway, that's certainly the fact.
It's a chat for another podcast. That one. Yeah. Tammy Abraham on deadline day made a loan move from Roma to AC Milan. We kind of don't really hear much of him now. He was in the Europa final. He won a thing there. I think it
was brilliant under Mourinho. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was really good. I mean, he moved there, and it seemed like a huge success. And then again, he's just faded out a little bit, and it's probably sums up his career really, where he goes somewhere, starts pretty well, has a bit of flourish, and then just fades off. I mean, I'm just looking at, he's still only 26 years old. He's only a young lad. But it feels like he's been around forever. If you'd have told me if he was like 32, I'd have believed you. So, yeah, he seems to like the Italian league, doesn't he? He seems to find a place there and a home, but I don't think he's pushing for any starting lineups in an England squad, certainly.
I think you're right. Wilfried Zaha, I think I've mentioned sort of him every episode I've done this one. 2 England caps between 2012 and 2013, but he changed his allegiances to the Ivory Coast, and he's moved on loan from Galatasaray to Lyon for a year. Eddie Nketiah, he earned 1 cap for England recently, actually, in last year's friendly against Australia. He's moved from Arsenal to Crystal Palace for 30 million, which is probably good value, actually. I think he can probably do a job for Crystal Palace. And thinking back to the Euros, I've got a funny feeling Palace offered the England squad the most players.
Yeah. They came good, didn't they? With Wharton, Eze, and although I mean, I'm surprised when you've just said Nketiah's 1 cap was against Australia last year. I'd have thought it was further back than that, right? Because I can't remember him having. Yeah, he burst on the scene, didn't he? Where he was scoring those goals all the time, and then almost got dropped again. But I think it's a good signing, really good signing, and a bit like Ramsdale, where you think, come on, mate, if you want a good career, move. You need to move, and he's done it. And I think Palace is I think he'll score plenty of goals there. I really do. I think he'll have a very good career. £30 million, a lot of money, but I think that's a good signing for him.
Yeah. I can still see him making squads. If he scores the goals, he can make squads. James Ward-Prowse, another one who never really sort of made it in an England shirt. 11 caps. I think he's going into a period of his career now where he's going to be loaned from here to there, but he's gone from West Ham to Nottingham Forest. Reece Nelson, another one who hasn't made a senior appearance yet, but he's done the 12 caps at under 21 level. He's gone to Fulham from Arsenal, so he's kind of followed Emil Smith-Rowe there. Surprising couple on deadline day. Raheem Sterling was he'd come to the end of his tether, hadn't he, with Chelsea. We all remember him at Liverpool, Manchester City. Hasn't played for England since the France game in the Qatar World Cup. Has gone on a loan move from Chelsea to Arsenal. As an Arsenal fan, when he made the move from City to Chelsea, I thought, do you know what? I think Arsenal have missed missed a trick there. I don't know whether it's just because I do like Raheem Sterling, and obviously his career has faded away, or his time at Chelsea has hampered his time in an England shirt. But could this sort of revitalise him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he is getting on a bit now. You know, I mean, he's not old, but he's 29 years of age. It clearly didn't work out for him at Chelsea. I just think with Raheem, he's got a place to play because he still offers that pace. I think, interestingly, he almost ended his own career, didn't he? Because from all the press at the time, he pulled himself out of the last squad he was potentially going to be picked for, and Southgate never picked him after. But he clearly, you know, it didn't work for him. So it's not like he wasn't being picked when he was on form. I think it's the right move for him. I just think with Sterling, it's always the same old. It's the end product. Does he score enough? And does he assist enough? And does he do it often enough? And I don't think he does, and I don't think he ever has done. However, he's certainly a really, really, you know, he is a good player. He is a really, really good player. He'll cause problems. He's just always one of those players, probably the most frustrating player I've watched as an England fan, watching England, where he's got, you know, 95% of everything you need. He just can't get that last, you know, 10% just to make him into a truly world-class player. But I think it's a good move.
Yeah. Well, 82 caps to his name, 20 goals. If he gets going well in an Arsenal shirt, then I think he'll catch Lee Carsley's eye, and he may. Yeah. I don't think he's going to become a regular once again for England. He's going to be a squad player brought on as a sub if it comes to that, would be my thinking. Another similar situation, Jadon Sancho. He has gone on a loan move from Manchester United to Chelsea. He's just another player that Chelsea are sort of accumulating at the moment. But it's 23 caps to him. Obviously, it's well documented that he had issues at Manchester United, but he hasn't played for England since 2021. I don't want to say he's a troublemaker. Is far from being the
there's
right
something
term.
not right. There's no smoke without fire, though, is there, Russell? And it clearly, I don't know, just something isn't right about him. But from what I understand, he had a good season last season with Dortmund. You know, I think the only reason why he hasn't gone there permanently is because they can't afford him, his wages, or, you know, whatever the Chelsea's paid. But I don't think Chelsea's neither the right move for him, really. I don't think he'll get looked after. I think he's one of many, probably a million players now ever they've got in the locker. I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it's really the best place for it. I think maybe somewhere like a Newcastle or somewhere like that would have been a better move for him. But good luck to him. I think it's the right thing for him, though, to leave Man United. That was a no-goer, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately for him. We speak about money. Here's one that sort of bought a lot of money. And again, one that I didn't really see coming. Ivan Toney. What are you thinking, Ivan? He has moved from Brentford to Al Ahly in the Saudi League for £40 million. He's earned himself 6 caps, and he got 3 of those during the Euros. He came on, obviously. Well. Yeah, he was the substitutes that came on. He obviously scored his no-look penalty.
Yeah. I liked him, and I like him as a player. And I thought, you know what? I want him in squads. He's the type of player you want playing for you, not against you. Got that little bit of a chip on his shoulder. It's money, innit? It is money, and I always think, what have you done? But God
it's
knows
not going to happen now, is it? Surely.
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was all the thing when Henderson obviously went, and you was thinking, you know, is he still going to get? It's hard, isn't it? But I don't think it will. I mean, the only hope you might get is he does a year there and then comes back, but it's never the same then. But it's hard to say, isn't it? Because I've no idea what they're paying him each week. But if someone gave me that check in front of my face, it's easier for us to sit here and say we wouldn't do it.
Of course.
But I don't know. It is disappointing from an England perspective, particularly in that area of the pitch where, again, I think that's where we need to start now looking at different options. And he's still relatively young, isn't he? He's, 27, 28 or 28 years old. So, yeah, I mean, he's not going to be getting a look in from England's perspective now.
Well, he wasn't selected for the latest squad. Another one who's moved from or to the Saudi League, Chris Smalling. Obviously hasn't had an England game for a long time, but he's gone from Roma to Al Faya, I think is how you pronounce that. Faya. But one player that I said we'd come back to, Mason Greenwood. We mentioned about Wilfried Zaha changing allegiances. Well, it's along these lines. I don't know if it's actually official yet, but a little while back, the Sun announced that he was going to change his allegiances to play for Jamaica, which obviously there's a few sides to this story. Jamaica being managed by Steve McLaren, who knows Greenwood from their Manchester United days. McLaren also a former England manager. Greenwood, he was never actually banned by the FA, but yeah, he won that cap, as we mentioned, against Iceland, which was a proper cap for like an international game. And I didn't think you could change allegiance. Was it a competitive match? Well, yeah, I mean, it's Nations League match, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Iceland away. Yeah, I thought you could only change if you had played a friendly.
Yeah.
So
I don't agree with players changing allegiance anyway. I think it's ridiculous. But look, he's a good player. Whatever we think of him, he's certainly got talent. He's got potential. There's the other side of it, the fact that actually legally he has done nothing wrong in terms of he's not actually been sent to prison. He's never actually been, done for anything. But, and there is obviously a big but there.
Big.
Yeah, it's obvious. I mean, from our perspective anyway, it looks obvious what he did do. I certainly don't want him anywhere near an England squad anyway. Having said that, though, I know for a fact there are fans that wouldn't care less. And I think I'm not that. I'm glad he's not going to be back in an England squad. If he moves to Jamaica, fine, see you later. I don't know. I think he's taking the coward's way out, running off to Jamaica and running off to these other countries. And I get it. He's not been proven guilty. He still needs to make a living, blah, 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 blah. But being a footballer should be a privileged job. I think it should be, footballers and football seems to live in a different realm as it is anyway. But I think then with that, you should have. I mean, there's no morals in football. Who was it who said that? Was it someone did say it, didn't they, on TV once?
I'll have to Google that one.
Yeah, it was on. It was a Scottish lad, but there are no morals in football. There aren't. And let's be honest, even if he did stay with England, it would not surprise me at all if he played for England again. If he stayed under England's allegiance, if he played well, it's just how it is. But I'm glad he's gone personally. But there's no doubt, talent-wise, he's a very good player.
So there we go. That's our roundup of transfers for this summer. No doubt we'll do the same again in 12 months' time. But now I'd like to just change tact slightly and pay tribute to former England manager Sven-Goran Eriksson, who passed away on Monday the 26th of August. Now in January, he publicly announced that he had, at best, a year to live after being diagnosed with cancer. Now there's so much to say about Sven, and in time I'll do an episode on him in the Managers series, but here I just want to mainly concentrate on his time with England. Now, he was appointed as manager on the 30th of October 2000 as Kevin Keegan's replacement. Now, the plan was that he would continue to work with his Serie A side, Lazio. And he'd been in Italy for some time, previously managing Roma, Fiorentina and Sampdoria. And then he found himself with Lazio. And the plan was he was going to manage England at the same time and start full-time on the 1st of July 2001. But that fell quickly by the wayside as results with Lazio began to drop off. He resigned and became full-time England manager on the 12th of January 2001. It was his first foray into international management, and it was a position that the FA had considered Roy Hodgson and Arsene Wenger for. He was a controversial appointment, mainly for the fact he became England's first foreign manager. A Swede managing England? Who'd have thought? But Sven's first game was a game that I went to. It was a friendly at Villa Park against Spain on the 28th of February. England winning 3-0. Now, he went on to win his first 5 matches, which helped win over the fans, didn't it? Then, of course, there was the 5-1 away win in Munich, which all England fans of that time will remember. And still to this day, when the date comes around, 1st of September, we all remember. It's true, he had a colourful life away from the pitch, but he courted controversy around it with England. In a friendly game against Australia in February 2003 at West Ham's Upton Park, he made 11 second-half substitutions. He justified it by saying he was trying to protect his players. No one else was protecting them. He said too much football was being played. It was also a match that saw the debut of Wayne Rooney, but it was ultimately a game that England lost 3-1. But FIFA's president, Sepp Blatter, well, he wasn't happy. England as a team had had a bit of a dismal time before he arrived. In Keegan's last match, we lost to Germany at home in the World Cup qualifiers. Things weren't looking good for Japan and Korea 2002. Sven's job was to come in and steady the ship and see if anything could be salvaged. That 5-1 helped, although it was on the line with the Greece game at Old Trafford. David Beckham's last-minute free kick, though, sorted that out. And England, well, they were on their way. It was the start of 3 tournaments with Sven in charge that all ended at the same point, the quarter-finals. 2002, Brazil beat us. The 2004 Portugal Euros, we lost to the hands of the hosts on penalties. And then finally, in the 2006 World Cup in Germany, it was again Portugal. It was again penalties. Who knows where we could have been if it wasn't for spot kicks. But it was January 2006, before that Germany World Cup. He was caught in a sting by the infamous fake shake, where Sven told an undercover reporter, a News of the World reporter, that he would quit England if they won the tournament in the summer. He was considering being manager of Aston Villa, where he was hoping to bring David Beckham over for. He claimed Michael Owen was unhappy at Newcastle. All of this came out in the news of the world. The Sven was contracted to the FA as manager until 2008, but following that subsequent World Cup exit to Portugal, he departed the position. He wasn't lost to the game, as he became manager of Manchester City and would later manage Leicester City. He'd moved between various international jobs as well, the likes of Mexico, Ivory Coast and the Philippines too. But none, though, had the same level of success of his time with England. There was a recent documentary on Amazon Prime about him. I have to be honest, I've not seen it, but by all accounts, it's very good and it's well worth a watch. I'll do my best to find that and watch it myself. Obviously, it's incredibly sad, but my way of looking at it, he got the opportunity to feel the love from people, the opportunity to reminisce about his old days and his career. As horrible as cancer is, or death in general, many people pass away without being told that they were loved. Sven had that chance. He was 76 years old, and I'd like to pass on my condolences to his family and friends. Gary is still with us. Just say a few words on Sven.
Yeah, I mean, it's very sad, really sad. I mean, for my age, I'm mid-30s, he was a huge chunk of my time watching England as a kid. And arguably, even though we didn't win anything and there was a lot of heartache, he's the one who got me into, really gave me that buzz for going to watch England. You think about the Germany result, the results against Argentina. I think there were a couple in there. So yeah, big miss, bit of a gentleman, bit like a Gareth Southgate, really. Always people spoke highly of him, both on and off the pitch, and it's just very sad, isn't it? Awful. So yeah, rest in peace, Sven, and is a big miss.
Gary, thank you very much for your time. It's always good to chat with you. Always good to catch up. Obviously, you do the Channel England over on YouTube. Sunday nights is where we can catch you, and yeah, the videos come thick and fast. I guess now with the Nations League coming up.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Channel England Football. Like I said, live stream every Sunday. So yeah, check me out. Hit the subscribe button if you do.
Magic. Catch up with you soon.
Brilliant. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, great to be back. I will be back, as I mentioned at the top of the show, very soon with you, taking a look at the upcoming Nations League games against Ireland and Finland. I hope you can join me for that. Don't forget you can follow the show on social media. Just search Three Lions Podcast. You can find it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can tune into the show on YouTube as well. And also just quickly mention you can contribute to the show as well. Contribute to the hosting of the Three Lions Podcast. Just head to kofi.com/Three Lions Podcast, ko-fi/Three Lions Podcast. Any contribution is gratefully received. So, yeah, I will catch up with you later on in the week. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.